Hello, I'm John Locke, and I'd like to welcome you to the Age of Enlightenment, a time when people began using reason to challenge old ideas about kings, power, and government. My main belief was simple. Every person is born with natural rights. These rights are life, liberty, and property, and no king or ruler gives them to you. They are yours because you are human. To protect these rights, people and their leaders form something called a social contract. It's an agreement. People follow reasonable laws, and the government protects everyone's natural rights. But here's the important part. If the government breaks this contract, if it becomes abusive or unfair, then the people have the right to change or replace it. Power comes from the people, not from the ruler. My ideas traveled across the ocean and helped inspire the Declaration of Independence. When Thomas Jefferson wrote about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, he was building on my belief in natural rights. And when the Declaration says people can alter or abolish a government that violates their rights, that comes directly from my social contract theory. So, my Enlightenment ideas didn't just stay in Europe, they helped shape a brand new nation. But I wasn't the only philosopher with strong opinions about government. Another thinker, Thomas Hobbes, had a very different view of human nature. He believed people needed a strong, powerful ruler to keep order. Let's hear from Hobbes next. Hello, I'm Thomas Hobbes, another voice from the Age of Enlightenment. While many philosophers were talking about freedom and natural rights, I saw the world a bit differently. I believe that human beings are naturally selfish, competitive, and quick to argue. Without strong rules or authority, life would be chaotic. In fact, I described life without government as nasty, brutish, and short. Because of this, I argued that people need a powerful government to keep order and protect everyone from violence and conflict. I believed the best system was a strong ruler, like a king, who had enough power to keep people safe and prevent society from falling apart. Like many Enlightenment thinkers, I also believed in a social contract, but my view of it was different. People agree to give up some freedoms to the government so they can have safety and stability. Once they make that agreement, the ruler's decisions should be obeyed. I didn't think people had the right to overthrow a leader once the contract was made, even if the ruler was harsh. My ideas may sound strict, but they helped spark important debates about power, safety, and human nature. I challenged other thinkers to ask hard questions about what people are really like and what kind of government works best. And speaking of other thinkers, one philosopher strongly disagreed with me. He believed people were naturally good and deserved more freedom and equality. Let's hear next from Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who had almost the opposite view of human nature and government.
Hello, I'm Jean-Jacques Rousseau, one of the major thinkers of the Age of Enlightenment. My ideas challenged traditional government and pushed people to think differently about freedom and equality. I believed that human beings are naturally good, but society can corrupt them. People are born with kindness and fairness inside them. It's the unfair systems around us, bad governments, unequal laws, and social pressure that twist people away from their natural goodness. Because of that, I argued that the best government is one that represents the general will. The general will means what is best for the majority of people, not just what benefits a king, the wealthy, or a small group in power. A government should work for everyone, not just a few. My version of the social contract was different from Hobbes or Locke. I believed that people should come together and create laws that reflect the needs of the whole community. When citizens help shape their own laws, they're more likely to follow them and more likely to protect each other's freedom. I also believed deeply in equality. No person is born with the right to rule over someone else. Titles, wealth, or family name shouldn't determine someone's power or worth. Government should give all citizens a real voice. My ideas helped inspire revolutions, especially the French Revolution, where people fought for equality, representation, and the right to participate in their own government. Now that you've heard my perspective, let's move on to a philosopher who believed the best way to protect people's rights was to divide government power. Next up, Baron de Montesquieu, who argued that separating branches of government keeps leaders from becoming too powerful.
Hello, I'm Baron de Montesquieu, another major thinker of the Age of Enlightenment. While Rousseau focused on equality and the general will, I focused on something just as important: how to stop governments from becoming too powerful. I believe that when one person, or one group, controls all the power, people lose their freedom. History showed me that governments with unlimited power often abused it. So I argued that the best way to protect people's rights is through the separation of powers. I proposed dividing government into 3 branches. Legislative makes the laws. Executive enforces the laws. Judicial interprets the laws. When each branch has its own job and can check the others, no one becomes too powerful. This system creates balance and prevents tyranny. My ideas had a huge influence on the United States Constitution. The Founding Fathers used my separation of powers model to build the U.S. government. The idea of checks and balances, where each branch limits the power of the others, comes directly from my writings. I believe that a balanced government protects citizens, encourages fairness, and makes sure leaders follow the law just like everyone else. Now that you've heard my perspective on dividing power, it's time to meet another Enlightenment thinker who fought for free speech, tolerance, and the freedom to challenge authority. Let's hear from Voltaire, a bold writer who believed that ideas, and the right to speak them, could change the world.
Hello, I'm Voltaire, one of the most outspoken writers of the Age of Enlightenment. If you know one thing about me, know this. I believe deeply in the power of ideas and the importance of speaking your mind, even when it made people uncomfortable. I spent my life fighting against injustice, unfair governments, and the abuse of power. I believed that society improves when people can think freely, question leaders, and challenge unfair rules without fear of punishment. One of my most important beliefs was the importance of freedom of speech. I argued that even if you disagree with someone, they still deserve the right to speak. When people lose the ability to ask questions or criticize their government, freedom disappears. I also supported freedom of religion. I believed people should be able to worship, or not worship, however they choose. No government should force a specific religion on its people or punish them for their belief. Throughout my life, I used my writing, plays, essays, poems, letters, to expose corruption and push for tolerance, fairness, and reason. I wasn't afraid to criticize kings, the church, or anyone in power. Yes, it got me in trouble. I was fined, imprisoned, and even exiled. But I never stopped speaking out. My ideas helped shape modern democratic values and influence documents like the U.S. Bill of Rights, especially the First Amendment, which protects freedom of speech and religion. Now that you've heard my ideas on free expression and tolerance, let's move on to another Enlightenment thinker who fought for an entirely different kind of equality: the rights of women. Next up, Mary Wollstonecraft, one of the earliest voices demanding equal education and opportunity for women.
Hello, I'm Mary Wollstonecraft, one of the most influential thinkers of the Age of Enlightenment. I lived at a time when most people believed women should stay home, stay quiet, and not receive a real education. I believed this was unfair and harmful. I argued that women are equal to men and should have the same rights and opportunities. Many people thought women were naturally weaker or less capable, but I said this was only because society refused to educate them. In my book, A Vindication of the Rights of Woman, I explained that women should receive the same education as men. If girls learned science and math, reading, writing, and history, they would grow into strong, smart, and independent adults. I believed education helped women become equal partners, better parents, and active members of society. My ideas were ahead of their time, but they helped inspire later movements for women's rights. Even though I lived long before the United States expanded rights to women, my ideas influenced the push for equality that continued for generations. In the U.S. Constitution, the founders talked about rights and freedom, but those rights were not originally applied to women. Over time, activists demanded change, and the nation slowly moved closer to the equality I believed in. One major moment was the 19th Amendment, passed in 1920. This amendment finally gave women the right to vote in the United States. It was a huge step toward fairness and democracy, and it reflected the same ideas I fought for: that women deserve a voice, a role in government, and equal rights under the law. My work challenged people to rethink old traditions. I believed that a truly free and fair society must include everyone, not just men.